Hi there. Let me start by saying this review will include some relevant spoilers. If you want to get the gist of my review, I will warn you once again when the real spoiler talk begins. I recently started paying more attention to the game industry through the years. Somehow, there's always been a flavor that permeates a genre, specifically AAA titles. For example, back in 2010, the flavor of the time was first person shooters. I even remember a year where Call of Duty 3, Battlefield 3, Fear 3, and Resistance 3 all came out, along with other generic FPSs. In the past 2 to 3 years, however, it seems the flavor has been open world sandboxes. While many games before now had a style had this style, like GTA 3 back in 2002, it's much more common to see this style in games now. Almost expected, I'll say. With that said, it's hard to say Horizon Zero Dawn is innovative. The game is largely a sandbox go where you want to go and do what you want as many other titles released just this years have done. And we're not even half through it. Despite this and other glaring details, I believe the game is amazing and worth playing, maybe even worth buying, because the developers at Guerrilla go out of their much loved FPS gritty war style of games and tackle a more exciting and deep story, beautiful, colorful scenery, and fantastic characters. Let me start by talking about how much I like the story. Warning: this is where the spoilers are gonna come out, so proceed at your own discretion. Are you still here? Good. You follow Aloy through a largely typical character development arc. She's shunned by her village, then trains really hard to show them she's awesome. She proves she's awesome by surviving an attack on the village and defending it, and they send her into the world. Once she's out, she discovers she's the inheritor of a fantastical legacy. And this discovery finally consolidates her exclusion from the village with whom she really is. The Shun here comes back to save the day. It's a rather common story trope, but I largely excuse this since Aloy is actually quite awesome and the whole character arc was with the overarching theme, post-apocalyptic machine hell. It's no secret that Horizon Zero Dawn, HCD from here on, main hook is a little less about Aloy and more about the machines that rule Earth. The story inspires wonder and begs the question: how the hell did the machines conquer humanity and reduce it to hunter-gatherers? This question looms over the plot, and the player doesn't get to answer until about two-thirds of the game. The studio handled this beautifully, since Aloy's journey will often be the focus, but at random times you begin to wonder what happened with the lore of the game. And I quite enjoy feeling connected through the world as Aloy, but also juxtaposition this connection with the obvious fact I could guess what was going on during the first one third of the game. At first, I thought this would be a Terminator-esque style in which humanity created an AI too smart to fight, but they ultimately permitted as humans do still exist in the world. This belief was later reinforced by the plot when I learned that Pharaoh did just that, and, and to fix the hubris of humanity, Project Zero Dawn was created. Here's where the story really shines. See, as our world currently works, we're much more educated than alien. We know something's wrong, something's afoot. But once you start learning more about Zero Dawn, you start learning a whole lot of information you didn't expect along with Aloy. Chiefly that Aloy looks like the twin of the project's developer, Elizabeth, which prompts Aloy to believe she is her long lost mother. Now, at this point, I thought Project Zero Dawn was a sort of cliche ultimate weapon, as the story's plot hinted at it for some earlier mission. At this point, the head of Pharaoh Corporation even paid Project Zero Dawn (PZD) will be, even said, not sorry, not paid, said will be the biggest genocide. I figured that weapon would be something so massive um, that it will destroy both humans and machines. When I went to learn more about Elizabeth on an underground bunker, I discovered an actual plot twist. Project Zero Dawn was about destroying the machines. It was not about destroying the machines after all. It was about it wasn't about some ultimate weapon that would save humanity. As a matter of fact, PZD was not about fighting back at all. PZD gathered the most ingenious people in the world to create a super AI that will keep them safe in a bunker along with a certain amount of human zygotes, which is a zygote is basically a primordial human cell. The project actually planned to use the rest of the humans on Earth as a distraction until the project was able to launch, and it almost succeeded. See, the machines were programmed to consume light matter as biofuel. As the machines spend more fuel, they had to ingest more biofuel, eventually having to kill all humans and all life. Here's where the second part of Project Zero Dawn will actually come into play. The super AI, Gaia, was supposed to periodically analyze Earth until when the machines were finally run out of energy. She was then tasked to use smaller AIs to effectively reconstruct Earth. Among the smaller AIs was Hades, who was tasked with total destruction. This made sense since the scientists discovered Gaia grew too attached to her creations, so she needed Hades to exterminate all life in case that life was a big mistake. After exterminating life, Hades will hand the steering wheel back to Gaia to start again. At some point, Hades became corrupted, and Gaia had to use all her energy to stop him, leaving the current life on there as we know now. Before she died, Gaia created a clone of Elizabeth, who then became known as Aloy. Hades was still alive, and knowing Aloy as Elizabeth, she saw her as a threat and tried to exterminate it. This is a core part of the plot, and I personally think it was very well thought out. First, by using the apocalyptic doom machine trope and turning it on its head to show the player there was no weapon at all and humanity was largely extinct. The AIs were designed to be gods of this new Earth, which reflects how ancient civilizations view mythical figures as gods. This story brings many good questions as what is the definition of a god? Is humanity its own greatest enemy? How do humans struggle with a sense of identity? Is destruction a necessary part of life? And a good game leaves you with this sense of wonder, and that's when you know something was done right. Aside from the story, the scenery was another big element that made the world Horizon Zero Dawn just beautiful and enjoyable. There were times I would be hunting machines or gathering materials where I would just stop and watch the sun slowly set over the mountains in the desert, the soft red color bathed in sand, with the wind rushing over the dust and the few plants laying about. On another journey, I would be wandering through the lush jungle as coy rays of moonlight will peer through the canopy, giving the whole place a mysterious, alluring atmosphere. Through these gorgeous environments, I will be instantaneously immersed in the world, leaving the chaos of the real world behind for a few moments to be engrossed on a fantastical tale. This feeling of involvement and near astral projection was akin to watching a movie's climactic plot twist, or a basketball game at the last seconds where are having a tunnel vision and all that matters is what you see. Usually tunnel vision has a negative connotation, but in the aspect of engagement, you know the players are doing something, well, you know the developers are doing something right if they can grab your undivided attention just for a few moments and take you away into their world. I really commend Guerrilla for taking this call for raw nature approach to this series. Games like Killzone often depict soulless environments with muted color palettes. There will be destroyed buildings and machines in largely vacated spaces, all shaded in black, grays, and dull browns and greens. This in itself was not bad since it went well with the theme of futuristic warfare, oppression, and revolt, which are obviously not cheery topics. While the direction on itself was proper, it left the environment as a passive element in the games. HZD instead takes the environment and gives it a center role in the stage in showing off its beauty. Last part I want to touch is the well-developed characters. Aloy by far has the most development, as it should be as the main character. With a modern game society, it's not surprising to see female leads. However, the correct formula is to make the character both strong enough to make them relatable and admirable, but not so perfect as they could be seen as pandering. Aloy hits the development perfectly by being vastly independent and intelligent, but at the same time, she's also flawed by her stubbornness that often leads her into danger. My only complaint with her is that she should have been given a stronger act as an agent of change rather than a reactive role to the antagonist's plan. What I mean is that the plot moves forward because of the antagonist's actions rather than um, Aloy's actions, and Aloy just pretty much is responding what the antagonist is doing. Now, this leads me to the actual antagonist, Hades. Hades works as the anchor for all bad things. It's his rebellion that caused the events of HCD to happen, and he actively is pursuing the extermination of humanity, or at least that's what appears. Hades works as a force of nature antagonist, a will that wants to achieve destruction by all means necessary. This works for the story, as he's the cause of all events, which is fairly standard for many games. I do wish Guerrilla had gone a little bit farther in taking risks and make Hades an antagonist with goals in a more gray area. For example, Hades could have its desire to end humanity for a grander cause, like, for example, the Earth was not ready for the human population, and based on his data, all population will implode for lack of resources in 10,000 years, so the best course of action would be to exterminate the humans for their own safety, as ironic as that sounds. Of course, Gaia will have been opposed to this and will be attached to her creation, so Hades was forced to take extreme actions against her. Honestly, perhaps this was his real purpose. The game doesn't quite go into much detail here. The last part I want to touch on are the characters, the supporting characters. There's Eren, who brings a particular charm to the game because at first his intentions with Aloy are suspicious since you don't know where he stands. As the story develops, he actually becomes a goofy flirt hothead with good intentions. And you may actually find yourself rooting for him in his story path if you decide to pursue it. On the other hand, we have Rost, who serves as a father figure to Aloy, and he has a spotty past shrouded in mystery. He's tough and stern, but through the beginning of the plot, you can really feel that he has a lot of care for his surrogate daughter. And the love he feels is to the point that he realizes he needs to let her go on her own. We have another supporting character by the name of Olin, who's a sort of anti-hero to the game, since he's extremely intelligent and has a soft spot for his family, which in turn gets exploited to serve Hades. All these characters are lovable and have a level of humanity that makes you feel connected. We all have parental figures we love and are expected to care for us. We all know that person who's fundamentally good but often hangs out with the wrong crowd, and we all have that goofy guy or girl who will root to find their own path. While these are all good aspects of the game, there are also some flaws that I want to address quickly. First and foremost is the gameplay and resource management. The gameplay is really solid and fluid. However, the worst offender is having way too many approaches to take on the battle that are similar and encumbering. I often found myself switching through weapons that work in the same basic foundation or weapons whose purpose was not entirely clear. To give you an example, the longbow, the warbow, and the regular bow often perform the same functions. So instead of using a slot for each in your inventory or your quick weapon inventory, all these actions could have been merged into one more efficient way. Following this, on the other side, is the resources used for your weapons and subsequently your armor too. There's just too many resources that go unused and just take out space in your inventory. Or you could simply sell them off at mid to end game. These items are just a problem. You are just overburdened by things you don't want, and items you don't need are not always available to you. You could buy what you needed, sure, but purchasing resources was way more expensive than the money you could get for selling your extra resources. My second problem with the game was a pseudo morality system similar to Mass Effect. In HCD, this system didn't work well because the story didn't offer many actual choices, and the choices themselves, when they did come up, didn't really have any consequences in the real world. But overall, the game is really good, it's really fun. If you have a moment to play it, you should. If you have to rent it, that's fine. But I will highly recommend buying it, especially now we're going to June. It should be a little bit more cheaper than before. But overall, it's a great narrative and I hope you give it a chance. Thank you.